Hi,
Hey,
Justice Lydia Mugambe. Thank you so much for joining us here and providing us your time. This is the Stellar Woman magazine, and I'm the editor-in-chief for the Stellar Woman magazine. And we have here Justice Lydia Mugambe, who is currently doing her PhD here in the UK, but she's Justice Lydia Mugambe in Uganda. So who is Lydia Mugambe?
Lydia is a typical Ugandan girl, born, battered, raised in Uganda, with quite a bit of exposure from outside, but a true human being, a humble human being, a true down-to-earth human being.
Oh, thank you for that. And what is your backstory?
My backstory is I grew up in a very loving family, and I think that has shaped me quite a bit in almost everything I do. I owe so much to my parents for their love, for instilling values in me, for grooming me into the person I've grown up to be, into the human being I've grown up to be, into the profession I have grown up to be. I think I owe it all largely to my parents, my mom and dad, and a loving home that they provided me to grow up in. I was never in want, and I think that has shaped me into a strong person, a person who's confident, a person who pays attention to detail, but also is very listening. I am that person who has, in life you can't say everything has been smooth, but I don't think I've had hurdles that have really shaken me, thanks to the loving background that I have been raised in, and therefore I can take challenges with a smile or in stride, So I'm not saying I haven't had challenges getting where I am, but because of the love I grew up in, I know how to deal with challenges. I know how to let go of certain things. I know how to pick myself up and keep going. And then, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And it's great to have love in your life, really. I think it's a great foundation for anything. Yeah, fantastic. So have you always wanted to become a lawyer?
Incidentally, I wanted to become a lawyer at a very young age. My dad is a physicist, a proper physicist, like proper scientist. So this is the home I grew up in. And so while I know how to fix a lot of things around the house, because I grew up in a physicist's house, and I know about formulae and all these things, I just thought at a young age, around the equivalent of grade 5, grade 6, I just felt like, you know what, I want to be a lawyer. Mm-hmm. I think I had seen things on TV and I read a bit. It just clicked, like I wanted to be a lawyer. And I think I started working towards that. So thankfully, everything fell in place. It could have been different. My daddy was a bit disappointed, but he came around eventually. And through the years, he's loved the lawyer that I am. So I guess it was a good trade-off.
Oh, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Amazing. It's great that for you, it was an inspiration from a young age. Many of us just pick up whatever is around us and then you change to something else. Oh, fantastic. So 2022 is here. What are your prospects? What do you expect from 2022?
2022 has come on a kind of smooth slate for me, being that I am a student. So my concentration is really the PhD. I say it's smooth in the sense I don't think it would be that easy if I was at home working and it would be crazy and trying to move everything in different directions. But 2022 really is about making good progress with my PhD. It's the year that I have to tie up things. I want to be at a very good place by the end of 2022 on my PhD, and it's quite something. So that's going to take up a lot of my 2022. I would say settling the children in, but thank God they've already settled in. And so far it's all moving smooth with the children. So it's about me picking my rhythm between the children and me, and moving my PhD forward for now.
Amazing. Good luck with that.
But also to stay true to myself and my values, and to make some me time.
Important.
I value me time quite a bit. It's quite important. And even a PhD can get you lost. So it's always vital to have your me time, family time, and keep going.
Yeah.
So I always have to caution myself that it's not just a PhD about life. So, but while it's to achieve my PhD, make milestone movements, on my PhD, I also have to do life and do family. I have my children. I have my husband. Life keeps going. It won't stop because of the PhD. So I've got to keep doing life. Yeah.
That's true. That's really true. And it's important for all of us to learn from that, because life keeps going, and life is for living, really. You have to live.
It doesn't wait.
Self-care. That's a big word for us. Okay. Thank you. And do you have a word for the year?
My word for the year is keep going and be true to yourself.
Wow.
Be true to yourself. I mean, I'm at that point in my life where I truly see life as very valuable. And you can't waste your time on the things that don't matter.
Oh, wow.
Live in the moment. Be true to yourself as a woman. You've got to be true to yourself. And this goes to having self-evaluation, rethinking your strategies, your options, and realign yourself for your true purpose. So my catch is be true to yourself. Live in the moment.
Amazing if we can take that, being true to ourselves and living in the moment. Wow. I think those are really great, empowering words, and we have to be empowered from that. Thank you for that great share. So you started out as a magistrate in Uganda's lower courts. What was the experience?
What was your
experience?
I've worked in the international system. I've worked at the UN. I've been around. And I tell people my best work experience has been as a magistrate grade 1 when I started out. I was dealing with real challenges. There was no protection. There was no, and you're thrown out to deal with the problems. You have the people right there in front of you, those with issues, and you have to solve them. And I think it was a very good opportunity to learn. When I went in, I knew, yes, it's justice, but I didn't expect the magnitude I found, the level of real problems that need real answers. So the translation of the law in the books to real life, to how you solve people's problems, was quite something. But in the end, you learn on the job, you grow in your learning, you grow experience, and then things get easier. But even when you say things got easier, every file had a different challenge. Every file had a different set of facts. So the learning continued.
Yeah.
And there's that gratification when you deal with issues. And sometimes even the guilty party or the party that is in the wrong acknowledges that this person has been fair. I think that has been quite something.
That has been your greatest experience. Fantastic.
Administering real justice.
Real justice. And maybe taking you back to one of the first questions, like what made you become... Sorry.
I have an interview. Go. Can you go to the ceiling? After you can come. No. Sorry.
We'll edit that. Yeah, sorry. It's okay. Bless you.
Eden
Take a moment. Some water.
Yeah, Eden gave me a cough from school. So not really a cough, but
Bless you.
Yes.
You need to first feel comfortable. Are you okay to continue?
I'm okay.
Okay, good. So it came out clearly what you're really passionate about, the fact that experience has been your greatest experience. No file was the same, and you really wanting to clear those cases and really feeling them. I think that's great to know. So in 2013, you are appointed a judge in the High Court. How did that feel? And was it any different from the time you had as a magistrate?
There's a difference between being a magistrate and a judge in terms of the level. The work is the same. So when I was appointed a judge, this was many years later. I had moved on. I was working with the UN. So I was like, okay, it was very exciting to be going back home. And really, that's why I had applied to become a judge. Because, the opportunity to go back home, because I had been working abroad for over 11 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so it was exciting in that sense of, yes, time to go back home, do real justice for fellow Ugandans, there was that excitement. It didn't feel so different because I had been a magistrate before. I knew how the bench works. So I didn't have the superficial excitement. I knew the kind of work I was going back to.
Yeah.
So I was comfortable in the kind of work I was going back to. The excitement was, yes, real justice. When you're working in the international system, you're dealing with systems, you're dealing with things that are kind of distant. And I was lucky. I was working at the tribunal for Rwanda. That's not the kind of thing where justice was distant, because we're dealing with real cases. But in the international system that it was, it's different from being at home, and you're seeing real people, and they're describing real villages that places in town that you can relate to, or the kind of disputes that you really can relate to, from that perspective of being at home. So it was exciting in a different way.
Yeah.
It wasn't that, oh, I'm a judge. No. It wasn't, yes, another opportunity to go back home and, do real justice for my people, in my country. Yeah. It was exciting.
Yes.
And it was also exciting because the kind of jurisdiction and independence, the jurisdiction, both the material jurisdiction and leeway to work for a judge is much higher than for a magistrate. So it was exciting in that sense.
Yes. A bit of more, it's not exactly more challenge, because it seemed like you had more challenge at the lower level. Mm-hmm. Is that the case? Is that what I'm getting?
More challenge in a different way.
Yeah.
As a magistrate, I didn't handle, for example, my jurisdiction didn't extend to give a death sentence. As a judge, you have jurisdiction. Your jurisdiction, they'll give you murder cases, aggravated robbery, for which the sentence is murder, rather death. Giving a death sentence is not easy for anyone. No. You know, this is the kind of thing I'm telling you. Or handling the kind of big disputes that involve big sums of money.
Yeah.
The jurisdiction is way too high. The material jurisdiction for a judge is way too high. Yeah. And here you're dealing with, how do I make the state pay all this money for this person? There's a, you know, it's challenges in a different way. Now, as a magistrate, there were challenges because you're kind of on your own out there, but they're different. If you're seeing someone really suffering, a mother who is suffering with their daughter or child while the father is doing something, and they need you to help them.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Here, there's that, and there's the more in the jurisdiction, in, you know, in the in what is bestowed on you as a judge.
Yeah. I get you. It's really different. It's all pain, it's all justice, it's all, but it's the context just differs. Oh, thank you for highlighting that. You are so passionate about protecting the rights of women and children. Why is this close to your heart?
You know, what's so interesting is I've done human rights law. It's one of my specializations, you know. But when I think about it, I think everybody needs a level of human rights education. Every lawyer needs a level of human rights education. It shouldn't be an area of specialization because it deals with, it manifests in so many ways in all our cases. You can tell the difference between somebody who has had some kind of human rights training background, the kind of judgment or assessment they'll have from someone who has had none, you know. So I personally think human rights is something we need to do as part of the training for any lawyer or professional in that kind of thing. It shouldn't be a thing of, I am a human rights. You can go on to specialize, but there should be some baseline human rights education for everyone. But what's very interesting for me is my other specializations, which is what I had set out for, were intellectual property.
Oh, okay.
Yes, insolvency.
Wow.
And the commercial subjects. Those were my passion.
Oh.
But you're thrown into the sea as a judge or a magistrate. And what is bringing itself out more is the suffering of the women. So you're drawn to dealing with their issues. And then it's like you make a name for those. You get what I'm saying? Because if people are struggling or haggling about a contract or breach of contract or a commercial transaction, and there's a woman whose child is dying here without a home, it takes priority. The baby who has no food, the children who are not going to school, you know? And then you deal with them in a national issue context. Because that's what it's supposed to be when they bring them for judicial review, you know? Suddenly, your interest in the commercial subjects and the insolvency and the intellectual property, even though you're doing it, it pales in the face of the real issues. Because we all need food. All children need to go to school. You see what I'm saying? So, so my real passion, I can't say my real passion, but my kind of actual other specialization, which I thought was the big specialization I was going to do, started to fizzle and the real issues manifest. Everybody thinks you're a women's rights lawyer or activist, you have this, but really it is I have this other background that people don't really know, and this one has taken over. So yes, I have this expertise, but it's from the cases that have manifested before me. And my this other side is sort of pale. People don't quite know it, apart from those who've had cases before me with them. And this one has shot up. So I'm in that dilemma. So I always sit back and smile to myself. Women's rights, I will always do women's rights if they manifest in the cases before me. But that's not what I set out to do. You see, children's rights, children's issues. I do these things, but that's not what I set out to do.
Yeah.
But my set is such that here I am.
Yes.
These are the issues
yes.
that make sense to the public.
Yes.
These are the issues that are before me, and because you deal with them, they make the news. So it's quite interesting. I'm always smiling to myself, and you can't go around explaining. You know?
No.
Once it makes the news, you just sit back and take it.
Yes.
But it's always interesting to sit and think about it, because my interest is these commercial subjects. And those who've had it before me on the commercial, the insolvency and intellectual property, the arbitration, have really enjoyed it. And I have also enjoyed it. But those are not the real issues, you know. Two rich people haggling in a contract is not a big deal when you have a dying child. You know? Or hospitals in a mess. Or children going missing in hospitals.
Yes, that's a big
case. On all of us. You know?
Yes.
So it's quite interesting, but gender and children's rights were not my particular area of keen.
No,
For me, if they arose, yes, I deal with them, but they were not necessarily. But here I am. My fate is that's what has taken my name out. So everybody thinks I am the advocate judge for gender and children's rights, but I would do it that way anyway. You know, so it's a good thing. It is a good thing, and what it also shows for me is you can never know how things are going to pan out. You just have to keep doing the right thing.
Yes. Fantastic. Yeah.
So just keep doing right whenever you have the opportunity. You have no control about how it gets out. Yeah.
Amazing. I think you're gravitating towards solving pain. Yes. So real pain, really, real issues about humanity, really. We're gravitating towards money and all of those things, but the real issues are about humanity. And it's good that that's where you're serving us. Matters of the heart. Rather than the physical things. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for your service there. So you are on the Appeals Council as well in the United Nations. So what does this experience mean to you?
No, actually, I am not Appeals Council no more.
Okay.
That's where I was for 11 years before I came to be a judge.
Yes.
But I think I haven't updated some of my LinkedIn or Instagram, so they keep showing the old stuff. But I haven't been, I stopped being Appeals Council when I was appointed a judge. It's not even allowed to do both. I couldn't even possibly do both. So I am not both. I am a judge. And before I became a judge, I was Appeals Council. Okay,
could I rephrase that? So having been on the Appeals Council in the United Nations, what did that experience mean to you? So we're going back in time then.
Yeah, I was a legal officer and then Appeals Council. They're all legal officers at the UN Tribunal for Rwanda. It was a great working experience. it was a place where you learn to live in a multicultural setting. You realize the insufficiencies of your domestic system. You learn to cope with even something as simple as fellow Africans, but from other countries. We are different in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn to enjoy the differentness, you know, and grow yourself from the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned that the necessity to do French, you know, as a second language. These are things we take for granted in Uganda because we're Anglophone, and we take it for granted. But I realized the value of the French that we were doing in S1 and S2, and we were just laughing at everything, you know. You learn to be accommodating, you know. We're all different, and there's always something new to learn when you learn about another culture, another person. So it taught me a lot of those personal values and how to deal with those values in the workplace. So it also opened up for me to learn working in a very big environment, you know, where everything is in a department, is in, you know, it was a great opportunity to learn that when I come back home after about 13 years being abroad, it's like what people call problems are too small for me. It's okay. I can, you know, I can deal with it, you know.
Yes.
And then the things people think are all that or too big, I'm like, really? No big deal. I'm okay. You know, I'm okay in the smallness of things. I'm okay in the bigness of things. They're small in their bigness and big in their smallness, you know, that sort of thing. So it sort of grew me in that sense. And you sort of get this, nothing really excites me. You kind of have seen it all because you've seen the big and the small. So when you come back to the smaller setting in the domestic and certain things are looking big, I'm like, oh, well, that's all right. That's all right. It's okay. Not big enough for me, but it's okay, you know. And then what they see as too big, I'm like, really? And the too small, I'm like, oh, okay. But you learn to exercise restraint and you learn to accommodate and you learn to listen and know that everybody has something useful to bring to the table. You know, don't be dismissive. Don't think language barrier is a problem. Give it time. Get a translator. Find a way of getting what that person is saying. It has some value.
Has some value. Yeah.
That person has something if you put them in the proper setting where they're comfortable and where you understand each other. Listen to them and pick what is useful for you to take. Don't be dismissive, you know. Of course, you have to know when to stop and now take action, but there's always something useful from the other side. I think I learned a lot of that from the international system.
Amazing.
And then I also, it was nice to work with the UN because it has its good and bad, but above all, it has an efficient system. Sometimes slow, sometimes kind of bureaucratic in a different way, but it shows you structure, you know, proper structures, proper systems where you have people properly qualified. Everything being hired to do what they're qualified in. You know? And I think working in a system that has proper qualifications for everything is a good thing to learn from. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
There was a lot. I can't underestimate the lessons I took from the international system. And then also dealing with, at the legal level, the definitions of principles, the difference in processes, They don't use technicalities, whereas we use so many technicalities from the old common law systems that we have. There was a lot of learning. I enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it.
I didn't expect that. Really. So thank you for elaborating on that. The fact that you're learning things like language, opening up your mind, and then changing your context of how you see things. That's amazing, I think, in life to change that perspective, because most of us are amplifying small things and grandizing them, making them like it's the end of the world. But there you are with the context that you have from all the cases, from the lower case to the appeals council to, you just have a broad perspective of what real issues are. Oh my goodness. It must be grounding in a way.
I must agree. It is grounding.
Wow.
And I'm very happy.
I had never thought about that in terms of the experience you get. Wow. I think it's amazing. Beyond profession, it's life experience. It's amazing.
Yeah. And the networks that you make, I have friends from almost all over the world.
Yes.
With any question, like legal or life.
Yeah.
You grow a network, learn to make friends and keep friendships and networks, so that you can call on someone for almost anything to ask, and you have a quick answer. That is another treasure trove I took with me from the international system. The networks are amazing, and people go on to be so many big things. They've gone on to be judges in the international system. And it's exciting when you can say, oh, my friend is the president. My former supervisor is the president of the ICC, you know what I'm saying? My friends are human rights officers at the UN, at the ICC. So I can't be lost if I'm in The Hague. I can't be lost if I'm in Geneva, because I have a network of so many people all around. And they are true people because we shared our life together.
Amazing. Just so much. And network is your network. Some people say your network is your net worth. So there you are. Yeah, great investment, actually, having real people and networking with real people. Thank you for sharing that. So what has been the most challenging part of your career?
The most challenging part of my career, when I came back from the UN system back home, you're happy. I'm back home. You have this excitement of back to serve my people. And everything is good, but I was the youngest judge ever in the history of Uganda.
Oh, wow.
Ever. And the gap between me and the person next to me was quite huge.
Wow.
So I think there is a tendency for people your colleagues actually, to see you as a young girl. You know what I'm saying? They and for me, I don't take prisoners. I know I do my work. I know how to assert myself. I know how, because this is how I've been brought up. I don't take, I can't say they look down on me. Some of them they're saying it with pride for you. But somewhere in there, you get a sense some people are thinking she's rising up too fast. Now, that is small thinking for me. So I've had to deal with some small thinking from colleagues, from some fellow Ugandans. There are people who come to court, I think, and at the start they think they can trample over you until you assert yourself, and they're like, oh no, she might be the youngest, but she's really is in control of her court. She is really in control of her court. She knows her stuff. And then lawyers had to switch and change their perspective. Even lawyers sometimes don't want to proceed in court. And then they think they're going to come and play around with this young girl. But they all had to wake up, you know. And then they started going around saying, you guys, if you're going before her, you've got to prepare. Because sometimes lawyers just want to come and adjourn cases. Now, if you are the kind of court that encourages that,
yes,
and then they come with this thing at the beginning thinking, oh, she's a young girl, she doesn't know the thing. I had to do a bit of putting my foot down and showing them that, you know what, I know what I'm doing, I'm in control. Like I had to, in a certain sense, prove to them that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then they all had to wake up. So if I wasn't well grounded, I could easily have slipped. You know? But when you know both the law and now that background, my upbringing, loving home, where I have my values clear, I know what I am supposed to do. I know what I'm fighting for, you know. No lawyer can intimidate me in my court, you know.
Yeah.
No senior counsel, no litigant can intimidate me in any way.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. That could have been a challenge, but because of my background, my upbringing, I knew how to deal with it. Yeah, and that kept me going. So yes, there was that reference to you as the young judge, you know. And in our kind of society, that can be condescending.
It is.
I never took it in a bad way, but you could see it gave me an understanding of people's perspective of me, of the young generation. But guess what? Out of all that, I think some people have credited the recruitments that came after me to me. I think I did a good job. I think I proved that you can do it. You don't have to be old. You can do it even better if you're younger.
Yes.
But I think after 2-3 recruitments, people my age have been recruited to being judges, which wasn't the case in the past. You find judges being appointed very old.
Yes. Yes.
So there's a new generation now of young judges.
Yeah.
Thanks to me, I'm told. So if something good has come out of it, good enough.
Be enough. Yeah.
But there's that. So, and when you're many, the attitude changes. The reference to the young girl as a judge or the young judge starts to be meaningless.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But interestingly, I've never ever stopped to feel bad in any way about people referring to me as a young girl or the young judge. I've never. I've always laughed about it because I'm like, I'm unstoppable. You know, that doesn't kill me. That doesn't put me down in any way. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So you need to have your values right. You need to have your values right. Because if you don't, anything is going to, you can fall for anything.
That's
anything can hit you off your radar.
Yes.
If you're well grounded, if
Yeah.
you have your values right,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you know how to deal with situations in ways that, you know, those who are trying to challenge you get defeated.
They do.
And I think that's very important. You need to find your value system,
Good.
your value set, and
Yeah.
learn to keep going with it. As a woman, you'll have challenges that you work with men who have been brought up to think that they are superior, that they are all that to women, especially in the African setting. So all these things can throw you off your radar. So you need to learn, you need to have your value set that keeps you going so that you can easily say that person is wrong and I'm not going to pay attention to that because this is where I'm going. This is my direction. This is what I have to keep my focus on. Keep your focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn from the young judge. Yeah, there's so much to learn from that young judge, the spirit, the strength that she had. And especially, I think if you are a female and young, and in our context of Africa, it can be, I think even here, but it's different when you're young and you're female and you're in a position of a high status, like being a judge, really. You must have pulled from a different, from your real spirit, really, to handle whatever you had to handle. There was a lot on your head, a lot for you to carry. I think we can explore that another time, to tap into that strong young woman and giving that strength to others. Thank you for sharing.
And you need a good support system. You need a good support system. You need your fellow women, you need your fellow girlfriends, you need to pick some colleagues in your workspace, people you can run to for reference, to question, to pass certain things by. You know, you need your you can't, not everybody is bad, or not everybody will give you challenges.
No.
So you need to find those people you can work with. And then even those who give you challenges, sometimes you just have to understand they may not necessarily be bad people, but they're not saying it because they're bad to you. Sometimes you just have to understand that that's how they are wired. That's how they've been brought up.
Conditioned.
You know? They're saying it most honestly sometimes, you know, because they've been brought up to think that as men, it's men who should take certain positions,
yes,
not women.
Yeah.
So somebody can say something, not because they're being bad to you. So sometimes it's innocent. You know, sometimes, what do they call it? Conscious ignorance and unconscious ignorance.
Yeah.
You've got to understand where they're coming from. You can't be the kind of person who goes around getting mad at everything that is said about. You're going to frown and kill yourself when you're still young. You're going to get wrinkles when you're still young. So learn to keep your focus, know what to ignore, learn to call it forgive, or, you know, let certain things just go by you.
Yeah.
Don't pick everything. You can't go being angry with everyone for everything. So my goodness, you're going to get angry with the whole world. You know, so you have to keep your focus and know how to remain on your radar. You know, sometimes those very people come back and even apologize. Sometimes some of them just change and they do something else. Sometimes you prove them wrong and they're like, they acknowledge, you know. Life is like that. It's a journey. It's not smooth. It's not straight, but you have to keep walking straight. Yeah.
Amazing. That's a lot to take in. So there's a lot to pick up on that. I think I don't know, I wanted to ask you. So does that mean that we shouldn't correct people?
Is that?
Shouldn't we then correct them if, for example, they're doing something based on their context, based on their conditioning? Shouldn't we spend time saying, hey, that's not right? What should we do? What do you think?
I think we can correct people. However, there are many ways of correcting people. You don't have to talk. You don't have to fight back with words all the time. You know, sometimes it might be through action. You know, sometimes you can speak. You can say, no, I don't think that is right. But you don't have to belabor and get into a stupid argument. You get what I'm saying? So you have to gauge. And it's not one size or one formula fits all. You have to choose. Tell me, how am I going to fight with a male judge who is self-convinced that women are not supposed to be in certain positions and has attitude, and whatever they're doing is in their actions Am I going to go around saying it's not right for everything? Why don't I concentrate on doing my work right? And they know that, oh, actually, I take 3 months to write a judgment. Mugambe takes a week or 2 to write her judgment. Am I not proving my competence as a woman to this judge? Do you see what I'm trying to say? Without going into an altercation with them. So, yes, we should speak when things are right, or when things are wrong, and say no. That it's like if something is hurting you, you should speak. But sometimes I've learned that speaking words is not the only option. You can do it with actions, and sometimes actions speak very loud, louder than words. So it depends on what it is. I'm not saying you should always use actions, no. If it's a one-on-one and you have that freedom to speak with this person, you can say it and say, you know what, I don't think that is right. And think through your answer so that you convince them, or you have a well thought out response. Don't just speak from anger, from not being prepared. No, speak with authority of what the correct thing is. Don't speak with emotion, the emotion that will just send this person believing that, you see, women, speak with authority. If you have to step back and read about how to respond, do it. That's what makes you win. It's not emotion. And you don't have to speak all the time. I keep telling people sometimes actions speak louder. So it depends on what it is. It depends on what it is. And but also sometimes in life, you don't have to speak. Some things are background noise. You don't have to pay attention to every bit of background noise. You just have to keep going. It will just distract you. You as the person, at the center, you need to know what is background noise, what is worthy of a verbal response, what should I ignore, what should I respond to through action, and if it's actions, what kind of action should it be?
Wow.
And that is left to your discretion, that is left to your intelligence. And it's okay to make mistakes. So, for example, you're not going to speak to your bosses, especially in the African setting. You're not going to go around telling your bosses, I think you're wrong about that. No, you're wrong about it. You're not going to go and say that to a senior judge speaking and giving a wrong example, say, of women. You're not going to get into an altercation arguing at a seminar that it's wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But for example, if you have a paper to present in the afternoon, okay, you can do your paper very well and bring your issue because now you've been given that space. You see what I'm saying? You can also find a way of saying it in a courteous way in the Q&A, the plenary, after this person has spoken, and present it well. So the packaging, the presentation, the delivery, don't get it lost in translation.
Wow.
So it is very important how you respond. I'm not saying you shouldn't respond. No, you can respond. But the how is very important. Yeah. How you respond is very important. And you need to make that choice wisely within your discretion.
I just think there's just been too much, a lot that has been shared, a lot of training in there, because you talked about do not use your emotions, dotting it, and I thought, wow, that is a challenge when a trigger has got to you, someone has said something that you don't resonate with, you want to respond, and many times with your emotions, with your anger, and you're telling us to make sure that we can control emotions before we actually respond. But most of all, you've mentioned the fact that we have to choose our words wisely, and we don't always have to respond with words. We can use actions, and definitely actions speak louder than words if only we can remember that and utilize that knowledge that you've shared. Thank you. So you've already actually answered how we can overcome that. So you are currently pursuing a PhD in law at Oxford University. How is that going for you? And why did you decide to pursue a PhD?
You know, I grew up in an academic home. My dad is a physicist, but he is a PhD from Oxford. I hope that makes it easy. So I think for me, the PhD was not a matter of if, but when, you know. It was just about when I didn't find that moment to actually go and do it. And I took time. I kept on pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it ahead and pushing till I got to this point where I was like, sat down with my husband and we're like, you know, like next year, let's all go and finish with this education. So my husband was going to school, I'm going to school. And I'm like, yeah, now it makes sense, you know. It was a lot of planning, yes. But why PhD? I grew up in a PhD home, in an academic home. So for me, it was a matter of course. Yeah. It was, I think because I grew up in an academic home, I have a very academic background in me. So, you know how even if you run away from something, it's something at the back of your head. The things we go through, the settings we've grown up in affect us or influence our choices. Yeah. I think for me, it was a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. That's a good one. Thank you. And how is it going for you at the moment?
It's good. It's good. With the family here, the children are here, my husband comes and goes. It is quite hectic in that sense because I'm used to all my previous study I've been alone. Most, if not all, was before the children came into the picture. So it's different in that sense. You have to plan your time better. And you also have to realize you don't have so much time because after giving time to the children and their life and all that, because they're with me, then what's left is what you have. Now, that's a catch-22 situation, you know. So I have to plan my time better and move faster on my PhD whenever I get the time. And you know, so there's more planning required. And then because my children are scholars at the school going age, I have a 5-year-old who you have to cater for and all that. When it's time to sleep, you can't stay up so long. I'm one of those people who work so long in the night. And then I lie in the morning. I can't really do that right now with a 5-year-old, right? So sometimes if it's time to go to bed, you have to go to bed because then you'll be so tired
in the morning.
When it's time to, exactly. So
yeah.
I have those sort of things hovering over me. But having said all that, at my age, it is the best thing to have the children around me, you know. And my children at these ages, my firstborn is a 14-year-old now. My second is 12 and a half, going on 13 in April, and a 5-year-old. The older ones are more independent. They do their things. I don't think I just cover my I just put my blankets over my head in the morning when they're getting ready, you know, and they go to school, all they do is come and say, bye, mommy, we love you. And I'm like, bye. Then I know, okay, they've gone. But they don't bother me. They're well trained. They know how to do things for themselves. They know how to get themselves ready. So, but it's nice to see them grow with me, you know. I think they are at that age where they need me and I need them. And I'm grooming them. We do the house chores together. We do the kitchen stuff together. My son loves roasts. He's learned to do great roasts. He hated onions, and now he's chopping onions like, and I'm like, what? He would never, ever touch an onion back home. But now, and you know, we don't have maids. The way we have them in Uganda.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
do things together. And there's something so beautiful in that.
Yeah.
I'm teaching them the chores. They're learning how to clean and tidy up and do their laundry, put it away, do the kitchen, do the sink. Back home, they're so spoiled. Because there's a maid to do this. There's someone to do. We don't have that.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy. So there's good and bad. In terms of managing the time, I have to realign. But for the treasure that I have, the children growing up with me, and we sit and talk, they tell me their stuff, they come back and tell you how their day at school was, and their teachers call me, they're telling me they've settled in very well. I'm just so happy. So it is gratifying.
Yes.
There's good and bad, but ultimately I think for life, the good outweighs the bad.
Exactly. That's very true. Thank you for sharing that. And that's what I tell people. It's challenging, really challenging, but there's a good thing. There's a connection that is so amazing that you can start to tell your child. They even mine have this other thing that mom is going to tell what you're going to do even before you do it, because you've smelt them, you've tasted them, you've done everything with them, that you know more about what they're intending to do, their intention, their mannerism, their action, everything. So there's a beauty in that, and especially, and also the kids get grounded in just knowing that they have to rise up to help mom anyway. They have to rise up to help mom. And also the community, the fact that it's teamwork, it's family, doing things together. Yeah, we arrive together. The 5-year-old goes to school because I have organized my bag. And mom is going to be able to be ready. So that's my little brother and sister goes to school. So it's really good. It's grounding for all of us.
The excellent that my 5-year-old the other day, yesterday was Friday, we were going to school. So he got switching off the lights and organizing the shoes at the door, and says, when I come down, he says, "Oh, mommy, we've done teamwork. You were tidying up upstairs, and I had to tidy up downstairs so that we're finishing in time." I'm like, that's teamwork. And I'm like, that's it. You know, I don't see how he'd have done that back home. Because there's a maid to do everything. They spoil them.
Yes.
And you have to be intentional about how you want your children to grow.
Exactly.
So I'm glad I have not lost that opportunity.
Yes. It's an opportunity.
I have not lost that opportunity. Because I'm like, if I leave my 14-year-old at this age, okay, he was 13, I come back 4-5 years later. He's an adult. He's gone.
Person gone.
Gone. Nothing
lost
to
them.
take.
Yeah.
And you know, my parents live in the city. So I was like, they stay at my parents' house when I leave. And there's the greatest love at my parents' house. They care for them, but it's not the same. You know, Georgia will spoil them, let them do what they want, they get away with anything. They will not learn a lot of things. They'll learn some things, but they'll not learn a lot of things, you know. Or they'll love them, but not my way. You know? But I know how to mix tough love and easy love.
Mm-hmm.
And the mix works for me. The balance is good for me. I think they need the balance. Maybe Jaja would never have invoked tough love. So you see your child growing and you're able to nip what you see as bad habits in the bud and help them grow, and give them the benefit of the doubt,
Yes.
Sometimes if you leave your children with family, they can say, oh, no, she's always doing this. Instead of giving them a chance to grow, make mistakes and grow, but I feel like now I'm present. They can make their mistakes. They can pick themselves up. It's all okay. I'm present. Mommy's here, to guide you through life. So I love that bit about my being a mom, that I have them with me.
Amazing. And you have great values that you need to really transfer to them. And you can only do that when you're present with them.
Yeah.
Really. Yes. Amazing. Thank you for that. So I wanted to know how you balance it all, the children, the PhD, and any other obligation that you have.
Yes, the PhD, the children, and my wife. We have things to manage and supervise back home with my husband, but thankfully he's more in Kampala, so he does a lot of the supervising of projects. I have the children, but it's not easy. Sometimes they need daddy to be here, Sometimes they do need daddy. I think the other day my son had, my 5-year-old had an achievement card. He came home with a card, And I'm so happy for him. Like, oh, Eden, this is nice. And he's like, but daddy wants to know. Then he tells me, but daddy wants to know. And I'm like, I stopped and thought, I'm like, I'm giving all the love I can. And he's happy. But he needs daddy, I got a sense he wanted to bring his card and give it to daddy for daddy to see it, and he sees daddy happy for him. The phone can't do it,
Yeah.
So you stop and ask yourself, oh my goodness me, they do need daddy here, The older ones are always calling daddy and updating him with their achievements at school. But you really see there's that yearning of, if daddy was here, it would be different. It would be telling him, and But the other thing is, they also understand the circumstances. So in a way, it's at least they're old enough to understand it. The 5-year-old needs time. So, but there are those moments that make you feel like, you know what? In all possible times, families need to be together. They need to have that connection.
Fantastic. That's the truth.
They need to have that connection. There's so much you can do as a mother, but regardless, there are things you cannot do.
Yes.
You can't fit the shoes of daddy.
Yes, that's true.
So however good you are, they need daddy.
Yes.
Just like they need mommy, they need daddy.
They need all the relationships. Yes, they do need them. Yeah. And the world is pulling us in different ways. So thank goodness that you made a decision at least to be with them, because if they were just with grandparents, then still daddy is not fully present, maybe just drops by. So it's good you're still there with them, and you have to just be grateful that at least you're there to be.
And the other thing is you just have to keep going. You just have to keep doing what you have to do. Like, Eden, my 5-year-old, had a guest coming in.
Yes.
We stayed on for quite a bit. He was cutting their hair and everything. By the time he left, it was 2. 2:05, 2:10. I had to drop Ethan off to his friend's house. And I'm like, you know what, guys, let's go. We'll drop Ethan, and then we come back for the interview. We can do groceries afterwards. Because initially we're supposed to leave early, drop him off, I do the groceries, and then we come back home in time for the interview. But I'm like, no way, let's just drop him, come home, and then we can go to the supermarket afterwards. But guess what I'm trying to say? I could not cut Ethan's visit to his friends. They've planned it for a month, right? So he would be sad and disappointed.
Yes.
I just had to play around with my time and see that I manage it. In the
Yes.
same way, how do you manage the PhD, the children? You have to keep doing what you have to do.
Yes.
You can't put either of them aside.
No.
But it would have been bad. It wouldn't have been good if I am moving so well on the PhD, but I'm losing it with my children, my family. So now that I have both, I have to deal with my challenge. That's my situation, but I have to keep going.
Yes. Fantastic. You have to keep going. Fantastic. That's the balance. That's an issue for us all. Yeah. So not very many women end up as high court judges. What is, in your opinion, is holding women back, and what can be done differently?
What is holding women back? I think women have to believe in themselves. Women have to believe in themselves and keep their focus. Keep their focus. Keep your eyes on the prize that you set. If you want to be a judge, keep your eyes there. Keep doing the things you have to do.
Yes. Wow.
And then we also have to get out of this. I want to be a judge. I've gone to law school, and therefore that's it. No.
Yeah.
These days, there's a lot of this get smarter training in leadership. How to speak in public, self-confidence. These things are not taught in law school. So I think we need to train ourselves these things that are not in the formal system, because you just don't know where they're going to take you.
Yes.
The way you speak might be the cut for the panel that's recruiting for judges.
Yes.
Your confidence might be your selling point, but you might never have got it in law school. Yes. But you might have got it in a course at Said Business School online. You might have got it from, what are these public speaking curriculums? You might have got it from poetry, just going for poetry. Discover those, your inner abilities. You might have got it it might come from reading a book in your leisure time, because it speaks the habit of reading.
Yes.
So learn to think outside the solid legal box.
Oh, wow.
So that you pick up a lot of things. Learn how to think outside the solid accountancy box, if accountancy is your profession. And learn what those other skills are going to empower you with. Then wed that into your profession. I think it's very, very vital. I've learned quite a bit. I've done something at Said Business School on leadership, and I was like, oh my goodness, I wish I had done this many years ago. And when you do these evaluations, so these are very practical sessions, I'm like, you know what, a lot of my colleagues could use this course. It helps to realign you as a leader, how to delegate, how to let other people work and be true, It helps you to realize the importance of empowering your subordinates, Then you don't die with so much work, and then you don't do things you cannot do, It opens you up and it helps you grow and be more efficient as a leader and in your work. So those things are really, really helpful. They are those skills that you learn in the journey of life, but you will not have learned them in your career path.
Yeah, in your profession, definitely.
Yes. Some things, it goes from listening, learning to listen, learning to take the back seat and just listen, So there's a lot to learn. Pick those things and keep going with them. Let them wave into your professional life. They are
Amazing.
very, very helpful in ways you can never imagine.
True, truthful. Yeah, very, very true. Because I mentor for the City of London youth program for Black and ethnic minority, and there's a manager who I mentored. She's a manager, young manager in City of. Maybe I don't have to say the specifics, but she couldn't even go for a 1 day off without calling her subordinates. And we had to go through the process of teaching her how to let go. She kept thinking, my goodness, even during the day, the 1 day off, she has to make a call to find out what they're doing. So we've had to do a lot of work in her self-leadership and also actually team leadership, learning to see the skill sets and actually bringing out those skill sets in the individuals she supervises, instead of thinking that she has to micromanage everything. So it's bringing out leaders within your team, actually. Yes.
And the best thing about leadership is creating leaders.
Exactly.
Be confident that even when you're not there, things are going on well, because they do. Worst case scenario, you could drop dead from being everywhere. Life will go on. The companies won't die with you. You know, and you need to understand that. So you need to empower your team members, so that things go on. It's not about you, the individual.
I think people love shining a lot of light to themselves without exactly giving credit to others, and that can be a problem in leadership.
I would recommend the Said Business School leadership course. It's amazing. I took it like a joke. I'm like, my family is not here, summer is here, I'm in first year, let me do this course. It cost money, but it was well worth it.
Fantastic.
Well worth it. I am telling you it. So, and I just did it as a self-development,
program.
Where I am, I could say I don't need leadership training. My God, there was amazing lessons to learn. That's the one I was like, I wish all my fellow judges would go through this training. So next time I want to do the one on communication. And I'm looking forward, because there's so much to learn. You think you know it all, and then you're dissected and you realize you know so little. You've been so inefficient. Even where you've been praised and all, you've been inefficient. You can do a lot better.
I like that. We have something in common. Knowledge excites me. I just feel like, I want more. And sometimes I have to tell myself to stop, because I love this learning journey and being on that journey. Thank you. Sorry about that. Definitely, it's a good one. I saw the one, Sayed Women in Leadership. There was a program that was, the one in Women in Leadership.
There's Women in Leadership, and then there's Executive Leadership. Because I've done a lot of Women in Leadership. I went for Executive Leadership. But they're connected.
They should be.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Please do it if you haven't.
They do write to me a lot about it, because I showed interest at some point. Good. Thank you. So are there women who have supported you on your journey? I think you mentioned something about women supporting you, but I don't know if there are any specific women you want to mention in this interview.
There's so many. In terms of mentioning, I'd love to acknowledge Judge Bossa, Judge Salome Balungi Bossa.
Wow.
She actually is the one person who told me, you can do it. You should, for becoming a judge of the High Court.
Wow.
She encouraged me. She's my mom. We were in Arusha together. She was a judge. And I've learned so much from just watching her. Her humility is amazing.
Wow.
She's a person of great magnitude, and yet she's so unassuming of herself.
Wow.
So I am just so thankful that I have watched and learned from Judge Bosa. I have, sorry.
Bless you.
I have also learned from the executive director of the WTO, Ngozi, from Nigeria. Yeah. I think this is a woman who has achieved so much.
Yes.
And at the point she was trying to be appointed for something she's so competent for, there were all sorts of racial and bad publicity coming out, like grandmother for DG and stuff. And you could clearly see it's because she's African that they were disregarding all her big qualities for the job because they knew she had all of them. And they were trying to bring in all sorts of superficial wrong things. But she stood against the tide, And then I've always loved Maya Angelou. She has all these amazing words of wisdom that are living beyond her life. That she left a legacy of literary for us to learn from.
Exactly.
Her oratory is amazing.
I know.
And when I'm telling people, I say, don't go for what she has said in recent years. Go for the original, the first writings. They are more amazing. They are more amazing. So I always say, oh my goodness me. People speak and you're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Then I also like Chimamanda Adichie. She says certain things. You read some of her things and you're like, oh my goodness me. It's like she's seated in my head and she's saying it better than I would put it. But she's like she's reading your mind.
Articulating things. Yeah.
I love her style. I love her presentation. I love her strength and boldness.
Everybody.
She is quite bold. The recent one where she was in Germany, where was she speaking and she was talking about the artifacts that have been stolen from Africa and that they should be taken back. That was awesome. The way she executes it is amazing. I think she's another good one. Oprah is a good one too. Her life story is amazing. What she went through, rising against all manner of odds in America to get to where she is absolutely gorgeous. And finally, Mrs. Obama. Amazing people to look up to inspire the young people, the young generation. I am rereading Becoming. And it's amazing.
Well written,
yeah.
Quite relatable to everyone, definitely.
It's amazing.
Fantastic. I think, why is it important for women to support each other?
Women need to support each other. In many cases, people tell you women have what they call PhDs, pull her down. They pull each other down. Women need to understand the value of supporting each other, because even if you rise to the top and you're alone, there's no sure way apart from being pulled down. So if you want to rise to the top, keep bringing up fellow women so that they can support you and sustain you up there. Women need to have their networks because we need to grow each other. We need to grow the sisterhood. We need to look out for each other and know that we are our own support system.
Amazing.
Without each other, we're going to fall at the feet of the male hegemony. And that's not necessary.
It isn't.
Women need each other. Women need to support each other because we understand each other. Or we should understand each other best. and know how to keep ourselves up. So the women's network, the sisterhood, is always vital to keep it strong.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, if you were to look back on your journey, what are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? Being a mother and wife.
That's nice. Beautiful.
It's the most gratifying. When I go home after a hectic day, and it's all crazy, I leave the files in the office. I go home and my children come and say, "Hello, mommy, how was your day?" It is the best way to unwind. So for me, the best thing that I have become is being a mother and wife.
Beautiful, beautiful.
When my husband is listening to my rants about the hectic office life and all that, I feel like I have a support system, a solid support system. I'm confident I can tell anything.
Yes, fantastic.
And the way we try to grow each other, support each other through the thick and the thin. I think being a wife and mother are my biggest achievement.
Amazing. Fantastic. Congratulations on that. And if you were to go back in time, what key message would you give to your 14-year-old self?
Lydia, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Come a long way. Keep going. Keep your focus. Keep your purpose. Keep your focus and keep going.
Okay. We're keeping that. Thank you. So what's your life mantra? Do you have one?
Live in the moment. Live in the moment.
Beautiful.
Life is short. Don't lose sight. Live in the moment. Don't be complaining about the past or trying to say what the future will hold. Enjoy now. Enjoy now. Wow. Then we can talk about tomorrow. We can talk about tomorrow when it comes, after we see what it presents. And don't procrastinate about yesterday. Make the best of today.
Make the best of today. Wow.
Don't go regretting. Just try to make the best of what you have today.
Today.
Live in the moment.
Wow. Beautiful. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Live in the moment. So how do you unwind? Let's see.
One, with my children. I love music. And though many people don't know, but those who know me really know, I love to dance.
Amazing.
I love to dance. Music and dancing. And my music options are so wide, but if I'm just listening, I love the graphic kind of things. I love the Tracy Chapmans of this world. I love, that kind of scruffy stuff. I grew up in a jazz and classical music home, so I love the classical station in the car. I'm like, this is one of the best things in England because they bring you these collections that are amazing. So I'm always calling my dad and saying, "Daddy, have you had this one?" Because we share that commonality with the classical music.
Wow.
And there are times you're in the car and they bring in Handel. Those are my dad's kind of things. I'm like, "Daddy, there's this one." So sometimes I'm putting the radio on. I call him just for him to hear what they're playing. Oh my God.
Beautiful.
Those are moments for us as me and my daddy. But I love music. It has a soothing effect. Yeah, it has a soothing effect. I play tennis, but it's summer now. And I've slowly picked up golf.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So where do we see Lydia in the next 5 to 10 years?
Lydia, in the next 5 to 10 years, I'll be done with my PhD, definitely. And maybe I'm being too ambitious. Perhaps the ICC as a judge.
Wow.
Or higher in the ranks as a judge in Uganda. Supreme Court, Court of Appeal.
Yeah. Fantastic. Best wishes for that.
ICC would be a good cutoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can see you there in all of those areas. We see you there.
Thank you.
Taking all those values and all that knowledge and experience to serve. Thank you for that. So please leave one challenge to the women reading this story or listening to this story to help them achieve their 2022 goals.
Sorry, what was the start of the question? You broke.
Please leave one challenge to women listening to this story, watching this story, to help them achieve their 2022 goals. 2022 goals.
Believe in yourself. You can do it. Believe in yourself. You can do it. Don't pay attention to background noise. Leave it in the background. Believe in yourself and keep going. Keep your focus.
Amazing. Thank you for the beautiful, beautiful interview. We've learned a lot. And this is Stellar Woman Magazine, bringing you thriving women's stories, knowledge, and experiences so that you learn one or two things, integrate them into your life, be inspired, and make a change to thrive as well. So we've just been listening, you've just been viewing Justice Lydia Mugambe with all her knowledge, with all her experience. I am sure you're going to learn something. So we are here to shine the light on these amazing women and also bring you that light so that you can tap from it and light up your life so that the world can become a brighter world. So we know we are making a big difference by sharing these amazing stories.